Can you talk a little more about Oregon State? And they don't have much of a record, but they appear to have lots of parts and be pretty capable if they get it going.
No, they're a good team. They've had some tough losses. You know, they suspended Moreland for 3 games, which was probably tough on them at a stage when maybe there was a win or so there. They lost another kid to injury, the Australian kid. That hurt him a little bit. So, but Stark's a real good shooter. Roberto Nelson's come on, a good shooter. They can play big. They're starting Reed at the 3-man, which nobody knows much about. But you put Moreland, Collier in there. They're long, big guys. Burton's very clever with the ball. He's kind of a throwback. You don't see guys like him very often. The step hook, and kind of he's a very, very good passer. So you know they can cause problems with shot blocking. They can cause problems on the offensive glass. They can cause problems with their length. You know, so they're dangerous.
Pressure
team.
a little bit up the court.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, they'll pressure. If you're not ready and don't do a good job, then of course, you know, they'll stay in it. But if you do, they're not looking to stay in it all that long. If they've gone to it a lot of times in late situations, hoping to get a 6-8 point quick go, and you know, they've done that against us for sure.
You go from 16 steals in your first 5 conference games to 16 steals in back-to-back. What's different? What worked?
Well, I think Utah got bothered by firing the ball screens. I think they just weren't ready for it, and it's caught them off guard. Their guards are small. I think the guys did a good job of trying to deny the ball away from their big guy, and kind of snowballed on them a little bit. Colorado first half was just sloppy. I mean, they just kind of fumbled a lot of balls, a little bit uncharacteristic. Thank goodness, or we'd have been down a whole bunch the way we shot the ball. Maybe a little more active in some cases, maybe a little bit of sloppiness on the opponent's part too.
Is Oregon any different without Dominic Artis than
I think in the long haul they will be. I don't think that in a single game situation they might not be. DA's done a nice job of running the club. He understands what they're trying to do. Smart player. He shoots it well. Lloyd started for him before. I mean, so he's a veteran guard. So it doesn't change much with him in there. Maybe in some situations he'll miss Dominic for sure, but I don't know how much it changes him in a one-game situation, really. Dodson's done a real good job. You know, they've got some athletes, guys who can jump and rebound the ball, and that's been something that they've done. They'll send 3 or 4 people to the glass, and they'll go hard, and they'll try to rebound the ball. But they've got great depth, and they've got 2 7-footers, and the kid from Rice comes off the bench, and now maybe he starts now, but he's one of the best rebounders in the country. Great nose for the ball, and they play very hard, very physical.
Them and Arizona State would seem to be the 2, for me, the 2 big surprise teams in the league. Are you surprised by Oregon, or did you have any idea what to expect? But they have a lot of new parts from a year ago.
I don't think any one of them should surprise you much, to be honest with you. I mean, Arizona State's got a lot of guys back. Now the transition of Bashinsky from a year ago coming off of Mormon Mission, now he's a real good big guy inside. And they also had a J.D. Carson, which was the thing they didn't have. They didn't have point guard, so Carson's really good. So that really shouldn't surprise. They got a lot of other pieces that they've had there. But Oregon was pretty good last year. I thought at the end of the year Oregon was really good. And I think the thing that, if you look at their depth with Emory and the 2 big 7-footers, and they got a lot of guys. They had a lot of guys last year. Singler's been good. He's just that much more of a leader. I think the real kicker for them is, again, the transfer kid that gets eligible that they didn't probably expect, let alone anybody else. Mm-hmm. And you add a piece like that's pretty valuable. I mean, look what Arizona did with the Lions. They're not near the team if they don't get a 5th-year guy, graduate student, to come in and play the point. So that's changed, I think, both those teams, the ability to get a guy immediately eligible that is not a freshman, that's a veteran, that's a really good player. And that's made a huge difference.
Does that help them overcome the two freshmen as their backcourt, and they're still playing like a veteran team, it seems like?
Yeah, the way they play though with their offense, it's not really guard. The guard place doesn't have to be. They don't have to. They can come down. They flow into stuff. And
Singler triggers a lot of stuff.
he does. He plays a lot with the ball, and they run the break and pass advance, and so the offense takes a little bit of pressure off the guards. But they've got great depth. I mean, even with without DA now, they've got a kid off the bench more that looked pretty good to me.
You think most coaches are okay with that rule that allows these fifth-year guys to just jump to wherever they want to go, like Lyons did from Marquette and this guy did from Rice?
I don't know what most coaches think, to be honest with you. I'm not really. I think it's just opened a big can of worms, and I'm not saying anything about those two kids. I'm saying in general that is troublesome, because what it's going to do is people are going to start recruiting from other people's campuses.
Right. I mean, the whole
It's just
idea was to
inevitable.
let you go and get your education somewhere else, but that's not really what happens, right?
Well, my understanding was that there was a swimmer or something, that was a really good student that wanted to be a neuro, I don't know, some
Right.
great story, and they didn't have what he needed, so they said, sure, you can be immediately eligible because you can go get this program
Right.
at this school. So maybe he swam for a year, and who even knew who he was.
So it became a magic loophole. Now,
Sure,
right?
it was
Yeah.
just automatic, and again, like in our business, the smart people, the early bird gets the worm. First guy that figures it out ends up finding a guy like that. Again, the purpose of a person being able to go someplace and get a master's degree, I guess is a pretty good situation. But what's going to happen is nobody's going to allow their kids to graduate their fourth year. They're going to hold them back.
In order to avoid this scenario.
Sure.
Yeah.
You got a kid that you redshirt and he develops and he's a really good player, and so you're going to tell your academic people,
Yeah. There's something kind
Keep him
of
short.
morally wrong about that for sure, right?
well, it's just the way things are now. So again, the smart people are finding ways to get around the rules, and they're finding ways to get guys, and it's just going to open up. I mean, you start looking around the country for guys that have a year of eligibility that might be able to graduate, and the original thing with being able to be immediately eligible because you've got a parent that's sick. Well,
What does that mean?
I mean, it's just opened up another can of worms, and us basketball coaches will make it a big can.
So do you think that was rules passed by someone who didn't really understand what the ramifications
Most
could
of
be?
them are.
Yeah.
Most of them don't understand the way we operate. If you put a small wedge, we'll drive a truck through it. And it's just what they call unintended consequences are just incredible. I mean, we take one thing and we make it into something that's totally not designed to be.
Right.
And
There's
you
plenty of
can't
good
blame
master's programs
anybody.
here at Berkeley, right?
You can't get in. I'm serious.
Yeah.
I mean, that
You mean the programs you're impacted, or?
you can't get into Cal Graduate School, so that'll limit. I mean, it's just a bunch of stuff. I mean, so if you're saying that we're an even playing field out there, I mean, we've had kids call about this thing, and you can't get into Cal Graduate School. My goodness, so that's out for us. So it's a loophole that we can't take.
Well, in your
advantage
case, it's
of.
actually because it's designed for the people who are seriously going to grad school,
Yeah.
as opposed to.
That's
point
odd.
guard. Yeah. What
I'm
are you
not.
thinking?
I'm just saying it just is what it is. I
Right.
mean, it's been going on for as long as I've been in coaching. If there's a way to gain an advantage, people are going to do it, and they're smart. It's what you have to do anymore. I mean, I'm sure Ben's not overly excited at Rice. He's got two guys that would have been starters for him that
Right.
are starting in the Pac-12. I mean, he's probably not overly excited about that whole thing as he's struggling through the year.
Right.
Those guys would have made him pretty good.
You think, yeah. Yeah, the Arsenal guy's pretty good. I saw him 2 years ago for them, and he was a great rebounder then.
Double guy.
Yeah.
You know, he could sure use that.
Any questions about Oregon State?
Brandon was in here before you, talked about sense of desperation setting in. How do you make sure your guys harness it in the right way?
Well, I don't know why there's a sense of desperation. I mean, we are what we are. We've got to try to finish in the top 4. I mean, I guess if you're thinking, you know, we're going to win the league, maybe there's desperation. But you know, we've got to start. We got to get better. I don't know that there's maybe the Washington game at home, maybe the Stanford game there, but there's not a whole lot of games that we should have won necessarily. We just got to get better, and so, you know, hopefully that sense of urgency's there. When you got a chance to win a game, you've got to win it. Just do. You have to. If it's a game you have a chance to win, you got to go win it. And so, if you're going to have, you know, play postseason, if you're going to do all the things that you probably set out to try to have as goals from top to bottom, you're just going to have to win games.
To get into the postseason tournament that everybody wants to be in, at some point you have to win that game that you can hang your hat on a little bit, because you haven't beaten, I don't think you've beaten the top 100 RPI team yet.
Well, that's
I mean, you got to have a certain number of wins too, but I mean, would a win like if you were to beat Oregon, for instance?
well,
would it have
if you
value?
beat ranked teams, it really helps. You know, I mean, if we'd been Vegas at the time, that would have helped. You know, if you don't lose to Harvard, that would have helped. Those 2 games. I mean, there's logical Wisconsin, Creighton, but yeah, wins against. That's why the league has to be good, because if the league's good, and then you can win some games in the good league, then that makes you look better. Where last year there was nothing you could do.
But don't you think the
beat
perception of the
anybody.
league is much better this year?
Should be. It's good.
Yeah.
It's pretty dang good.
Who do you compare Burton to? I mean, you see his body type and the way he plays. It's very unique.
I don't really compare him to anybody, but he's got very quick feet. For a guy his size, he's got really quick feet. He's very unique. He's got good hands. He's a good passer. He's got quick feet. He shoots different types of shots. He's a very good passer. He's learned to handle the extra weight, and it's made him kind of effective. I mean, he's not going to jump over you. He's not going to run past you, but he positions himself well. He sees the floor very well. He's a unique type player, but he's good in that offense because he's such a good passer.
Is there any update on Craig Lowe's health or at this point?
He's just not moving very fast.
Anything else?
That's it do.
All right.
Thanks, Mike.